Thanks, Chris. All right.
You spoiled my number one.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
That's Mike DiLisio.
Hey, everybody.
I'm Zee Garcia. Hi.
Back in the 305.
This place just woke up.
You better believe it.
Mike, everybody. Mike is here. Why don't the rest of us, and by that I mean security over here and myself, why don't we just sit here and watch Mike do his top 10? Nobody cares what we had to say,
Why
Tom.
should this be any different than every other list we do?
Right.
Oh, never mind. The hubris has brought me back down. I have seen the flaws in my idol. I'm back.
Don't
All
ever
right,
meet your
folks.
heroes. Don't ever meet your heroes.
Top 10 designers. So I want to make some things clear here at the beginning.
Okay.
This is actually, for me, it is my top favorite designers.
Okay.
There's a difference in that because I think you can objectively point to some
Sure.
designers as being better than others. So you'll be like, well, how could you not put Sid Sachs on your list, for
Right.
example, for me? He did all these great things. He did. He's just not my favorite.
Right.
These are also my top 10 favorite designers right now.
That's fair.
Yeah. Agreed.
Whose mic's not on?
Is it on?
It's definitely on.
Ah. Anyway, so these are my top 10 favorite designers right now. And also, not even right now, as of 5 days ago when I made this list, because I'm pretty confident with my top 5.
Okay.
But my bottom 5 is fluctuating. I felt bad about not putting some people on. I felt like
yeah.
the more I kept reading this,
Yeah.
the more I was like, maybe this one should be on. I don't know if this person
I
should be
will
on.
tell you this. My top 10 here didn't change too much, but boy, did it get shuffled around a lot.
Okay.
Precisely for that reason of this person is not that diverse, but the games they make I really like. This person has a lot of games, but they, I don't always enjoy the ones they... It's interesting.
Yeah.
How do you, reconcile those two different ideas or concepts?
This is what I did. I did.
Tricky. Yeah.
If this person made a game right now, the excitement that I would have to play it.
Okay.
I also cut off anyone with 2 or less games. Actually, I moved it up to 3 or less games because that's too narrow.
Yeah,
That
I
makes
would have
sense.
I would have a hard time.
The one designer that I put on my list initially, but I only had 3 games, was Paul Denning from Paul Denning from Dire Wolf.
Because he's done Clank and many other versions.
He's done a lot of Clank. He did Dune Imperium.
Right.
He just did Wild Tile West.
Right.
I think that's amazing. If they just announced a new game from him, that the Invincible, I think he's doing.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, because I love his stuff. But he's just missing my list because I don't think he had enough games.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I did this list recently, actually, myself.
Oh, you mean on your channel?
No, on my channel. No, that wouldn't have been recently, Tom. On this channel, but it was during it was filmed, I think, during a spectacular or something along those lines.
Well, we definitely all watched it.
Sure. But on that one, I was not allowing myself duos. And I spoke to you beforehand, and you said, duos are fine. So that definitely changed some things.
Well, that's good
What is happening right now?
because I have one duo on my list.
Okay.
I wrote 10 out for each of you.
Oh.
I tried to guess. Now, I
okay.
know I have your number 1s, both of you.
I doubt it.
And I have your number 2. And you were actually easier than him at first, then you got harder. He started off hard until I thought of some stuff. But I'm also sure that I only got 5 of Mike's wrong, right? But I think I got 5 of yours right also.
All right,
I'm
fine.
guessing
We'll
I have
see, Tom.
about 5
5 for
of
Mike,
both
5
of
for you.
yours, but I didn't do the lists. But I feel pretty confident I can get 5 of both of yours. But
Yeah, but I don't think my number 1's as obvious as everyone else's.
I don't know that I
Because
know.
I float around on my number 1s.
I have a guess for your number 1. I think it would be a dark horse. Let me write it down. I'm gonna
Okay,
write
that's a
down
good
what-
idea. I like that. I like it. Write it down.
All right, let's
Don't write
see.
it on this iPad, though. That's
Go to a commercial break while I think of this.
Alrighty, so with that in mind, and later on, again, I'm trying to preempt all the people like, how could you not put this? These are our favorites. Again, if I was doing an objective list, there are very specific people I would put on, and I don't think people can
Yeah,
argue with me. I'm
right.
like, these people have to be on. But there's people who are great designers. Like I don't think anyone's gonna argue Vasel Lacerda's a good designer.
Right.
But he's not on my list. That doesn't mean I think he's a bad designer. He just ain't one of my favorites.
Right. Like you think of the Mount Rushmore, people talk about that all the time.
Right.
They may be the most important, you know what I mean? they wouldn't necessarily be my favorite.
Sure. Right. That
I
makes
also
sense.
think there's going to be some crossover, but not much.
I think you are right. I think there will be minimal crossover.
I think I'm going to cross over with both of you, though.
Okay.
I feel good about that.
All
Okay.
right.
All right, let's get started.
All right, here we go. Starting this list off with number 10. I'm going to change things up and start with number 10.
Okay, good.
This is a designer that, if you were to say most underappreciated designers, would probably be number 1 or close to it. My number 10 is Paolo Mori.
Call it that. That's one.
All right, you had Paolo Mori on there, yeah, of
Did I
course.
put that on yours? He was my number 11.
Yeah, Paolo Mori is one of those designers that you're like, oh, he did those games?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
You know, he's done Blitzkrieg, he did Libertalia, Dogs of War. These are the ones that I chose up here because these are some of my favorites of his designs,
Yeah.
but there are many other ones as well. And Archaeo Society, more people will be familiar with Ethnos, which is basically what Archaeo Society has become. But I think he's a very, very diverse designer, right? His designs don't feel like each other that often. Although I will say, I put 2 up that definitely share DNA, which is Dogs of War and Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg is like kind of a shrunken version of Dogs of War.
He's one of those designers. Designers are, in many ways, are like any other kind of artist. That you have some that are like painters that go through periods.
Yeah, yeah.
And they sort of paint the same kind of thing, and so you'll see, like, oh, so and so is really into polyominoes lately, and they do that a lot. You know what I
Right.
mean? Paolo Mori really jumps around to a lot of different stuff very frequently.
Really does.
I would argue, with the exception of Vasco da Gama, that he has very strong player interaction, though.
Yes.
He's really into...
Well, yeah, Libertalia, Ethnos, those games have
He's
really...
good
and
at that
Dogs of
balance,
War.
though. He's
He
good at,
is.
like, not chaos, interaction.
Right, the closest he comes to chaos is Libertalia, I think. And even that has enough, bumpers to kind of keep things in line. And he's got one upcoming that I think all of us are probably excited about, that match of the century from
Oh, yes.
from
I'm
Capstone.
very pumped about that.
That looks very interesting.
I've always
too,
wanted to
so-
play a game about playing a game.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
All right,
All
so
right.
there's my number 10, Paolo Mori, and he's looking quite sharp.
I already got
in that
one wrong. I
photo.
did not guess him for you. I should have, though, but...
All right.
Well,
I
get ready
wasn't
to get
sure.
one wrong for me, Tom, because I doubt you would expect this person to be on my list. Again, very little known designer. Certainly does not get the name recognition, or at the very least, when you hear his name, you don't think of him. Number 10 is Adam West.
Oh,
Not that Adam
interesting
West.
pick.
This Adam West. Adam West is, again, falls into that category of
You're right. I did not pick him for your list.
No.
whenever I see a game that's coming out, and he has his own little publisher, Crosscut Games, I think it's called. But whenever he's got something coming out, something gets announced, I am always intrigued. And again, a designer that manages to, in many ways, like Paolo Mori, jump around from concept to concept. He's got games up there like Deadline is it's kind of like The Grizzled meets a whodunit,
Okay.
in which you are trying to break into places cooperatively like The Grizzled, and then once you do break in, you can grab a card and read. Like, you talk to so-and-so and you muscle them and they tell you information. It's a very bizarre concept, really
Yeah.
well condensed, okay? Kodachi, which is the card game version of Ninjato, is a push your
Right.
luck game. Transmissions is this lovely little family game with, again, very simplified actions. He manages to remove and sand down and condense, and you end up with a game that is elegant,
Yeah.
that is streamlined. And I really like that. So, again, when a game comes out and it's from Adam West, I'm always like, intrigued,
Yeah.
That's my number 10.
Tom has been suppressing a
No, I'm
huge
just amused by
grin.
the chat. The chat's been like, pow, bam.
All the Batman jokes. Zowie.
I'm sure he's never heard that before.
Yeah, right?
All right. My number 10 is not little known. He's not made that many games, actually, but each of his games is a monster hit because he runs all his games from his company are monster hits, even the terrible ones. He doesn't design the terrible ones, though. He designs the good ones from his company.
Okay.
And that's Jamie Stegmaier. He really...
Who is this now?
Jamie is... I mean, what do we got? I wrote down now. I mean, that new Expeditions game is pretty solid, man.
It's really good.
And it's different than Scythe. It's not...
Yes.
Tapestry, for some reason people think I hate Tapestry. I think it's a very fine game. I don't love it as much as some do. I mean, Viticulture is...
It's in your
so
top
good.
10, isn't it?
It was in my top 10. It's in my top 20 for sure.
Yeah.
I just like his stuff. Scythe was also very high on my list. And Tapestry is one of those games I'll gladly play. I like his stuff. I don't know that he has a good eye for picking other people to design games because a lot of the games other people make for his company aren't as good. But his stuff is good.
Well, I mean, Wingspan, obviously, that game has been a huge bomb, you know?
Yeah, right, Wingspan.
Right.
But you're right, other than Wingspan.
I'm thinking Pendulum and Red Rising. Sorry, you're right, Wingspan.
No, he designed Red Rising.
Did he design Red Rising? Take him off the... No.
They can't all be zingers, Tom.
They can't. But his track record's still pretty good. Expeditions brought him back in for me. But he is still number 10 because he doesn't have as wide of a library as everybody else.
All right.
Very good.
My number 9 is a designer that is by far most well known for the games that I don't particularly care for. So it's interesting. He's one of my favorite designers, but he's not one that I'm going to be like, sight unseen, I'm getting this game. Because some of his games I just don't really care for, but the ones that do, I really like. And I think he is such an idiosyncratic designer that people know him for heavy Euros, but he does a lot of stuff. My number 9 is Martin Wallace. Okay? Now, he's not on my list for brass, right? He's not on my list for Age of Steam.
I didn't think of this as in... You're right. These are the games of his you like.
Yeah, I love Australia. Fantastic co-op, semi-kind of co-op game that is really a train game, right? I mean, it's essentially a train game.
War game, train game, Cthulhu game.
Right.
You're like, wait, what?
Right.
You're right. It's like, idiosyncratic is a great word for his stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I don't always like his stuff, but I'm always impressed because he takes chances, he takes risks, and he's really kind of... You know, people talk about Friedemann Friese as this kind of mad scientist, and that's true. I think Wallace is very much like that also. Hit Z Road, this family weight dice chucking game.
I was just looking at the Dice Tower East Library checkout, and I was annoyed to see no one checked out Hit Zero.
That's going to get checked out again.
Mike just goes and checks out.
And Wildlands is the game that made me realize I can like skirmish games. Before then, I'd never really played one that spoke to me. Wildlands is one of my favorite games of all time. So I think that Martin Wallace is obviously a well-esteemed designer. He's the designer of the #1 game on BGG.
Right.
But while I've played brass and I appreciate it, that's not the one I want to play. I want to play the other ones.
He's
those
a
kind
little
of
bit like
weirder ones.
Uwe Rosenberg in a sense, right? Uwe Rosenberg is like two different people when it comes to designing games. So it's kind of Martin Wallace.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
That
my
is true.
favorite is actually one that's kind of in between those two different people, and that's Via Nebula.
I love Vienna. That's another train
Again,
game.
if it didn't look so cartoony,
Right.
if they drew that in brass style, you'd be
my
like,
gosh.
oh, it's like a light brass.
It's like Brass Junior. Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's
you
a
draw it in
family
that
game.
cartoony, wonderful French style, and it's like, it's a family way game.
Right,
You
and
know
it's
what I mean?
hilarious how many times they try to disguise his train games.
Yes.
That is 100% a train game,
Yeah.
and so is Australia, you know.
All right, what do you got?
All right, my number 9 is from someone who has their own company as well, and so a lot of their games come out from their company, but they've done all sorts of other things as well, and this is, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, Christian Amundsen Ostby.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't think of this for you. I should have.
I got one right, baby!
Yeah, I should have known this, yeah.
So these are some of the games, there's quite a few, but these are some of the games that are fantastic that he is a co-designer on. Santa Maria, I think, is a very good Euro game. And again, in many ways, He is that first kind of painter I was talking about, someone who goes through periods. Okay? The whole using dice on the outside of a grid to activate things on that grid. They did in Avenue, which was a roll and write, and then it became a mechanism in Santa Maria, a much heavier Euro game with a lot more going on, and it is excellent. And then you've got some of those other games up there. Trails of Tucana is a flip and ride, a really good flip and ride. Automania was even before those two, and it's again this quick to the punch Euro game, like Family Weight Plus, just a little more going on. But the way everything is made is often designed to simplify your path in getting there. The only one that breaks that a little bit is Revive, a very modern one that is very thinking. Like,
Yes.
lots going on. You know, it's a Eurogamer's Eurogame in many ways. But I like the design philosophy of this designer. I think it's, again, a lot of interesting choices made. Whenever those paths, I'm sure, in their process present themselves, the one that they choose to take often aligns with what I like. So, you know, great
Am I
stuff.
I may be completely off board on this, but was he not part of the design
Roy,
team for...
my number 9 is a 0.5
Escape.
crossover with Z,
Cut me right off.
because you're going to spoil my number 9.
Oh, okay.
Christian Edmondson Osby and Alif Svensson, who's his co-designer. You forgot, you cretin.
I mean,
Oh, interesting. So
he's
you
got
cut.
some
I
other
see why
stuff
you
that I
cut.
like.
Yeah, I was gonna say Escape.
Escape.
Yeah.
Bad Company.
know,
Automania. Well, I wanted Mike
No,
was
you're
gonna ruin
right.
my-
Because you're right.
gonna
I
ruin my
was.
thing.
I was gonna ruin your thing. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it.
Now they often have a third designer with them, but that one changes from game to game.
Yeah.
And Christian has done a few games without this guy, but they've
Right.
done all these together.
Right.
And man, I love these guys. They just make fun. Their games are interesting.
So good. Yeah. Bad Company, I love. I mean,
I'm
it's a
surprised you
lot.
didn't put that on your thing.
yeah. I just picked a few. I picked like 3 different games for each of the people I have on here. Yeah, I mean, that's a crossover. That's basically a crossover.
Oh, sure it is, yeah.
And it's weird because you said Revive is very different than anything they've done, and I love it.
Yeah.
But
Just
has that quick snappy
thinkier.
turn.
Yeah.
It's thinky.
And they did that Come Together game too, right?
That one I haven't played.
Oh,
That
you
one
haven't
is
played that?
only from. I don't think Ostby here is part of that.
Ah,
team.
gotcha. Okay.
I think it's Alif, and then some co-designers
Got
for
it.
him there,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken.
I don't
And
know.
I didn't love that one.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like, okay,
Right.
you know what I mean? What's the secret sauce here?
Yep.
I think I'm right on that. Don't quote me on that, but I think I'm right on that. Anyway, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, these guys are fun, and they've been designing for a while too. They've been designing for as long as I've been in the Euros. I played that game from Christian a long time ago, that Mutiny on the Little Blue,
Oh gosh.
and
yeah.
I would. It had some problems, but I was like, this is so interesting, and I like this stuff. I don't like his roll and writes as much as you do. I like them.
Yeah.
You love them, but I love their other stuff. That Automania, such
Yeah.
an underappreciated game.
That surprised me, that game.
Yeah.
So, all right, yay,
Very
crossover.
nice. Look at that.
My number 8, and I may be off on this, but I have a sense that I think that this designer is underestimated, although he's done some very, very popular games. My number 8 is Antoine Bauza. If you look at his ludography, right?
Man, I'm just like missing all over the place. Mike.
You missed?
Doing, yeah.
He has done so many. Now, he's slowed down in recent years, but he has put out so many games that have been popular, but other games that have kind of slipped through the cracks that I still love. Like
I don't
you
think
always
he's
bring up.
underestimated.
You don't
He's
think so?
pretty-
Yeah.
Seven Wonders
I don't
alone
think so
makes
either.
him.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
so,
think
yeah.
so
All
either.
right. Well, then I could be off there, but like, you know, I know you talk about Samurai Spirit all the time. I think that's a game that slipped
Sure.
through the cracks.
Yes.
You know, there are a number of them, but
He's got a few that did, and
Right.
he's got a few that suck.
oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, let's not talk about Dr. Shark, but
But you're right. There's like 3 games that are tremendous. Both
Yes.
like they're like the critical darlings and incredibly popular.
right.
You know, you have that like magic mixture
Yes.
of Seven Wonders is a huge hit. People love it. Sold like gangbusters, right? And then you got like Hanabi was a big award winner.
It was a Spiel winner. And then you
He's won the
have
Spiel twice, right?
yeah. Then Takanoko, right?
He's got quite a few.
Tokaido.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of games but you don't see him come up. I think when people talk about designers.
That's because of one of his co-designers takes all the credit all the time.
Well, no, I think lately I feel like he's sort of proven he's good at what he does, and lately is just part of that group of folks that love making little silly games.
Right,
like,
but they also make big ones
he's
too,
part
right?
of that group that made like Ninja Cats.
And Draftosaurus.
And like little things. That Draftosaurus game has like 4 or 5 designers
It's that whole team, right? And like Arceus was part of that too.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, and now he's just started his own imprint, the Play Punk. So I'm kind of intrigued to see if that maybe sparks. Because I got the sense that, look, he's been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
You're right. He's hit the pinnacles of success, and maybe he needed a little bit of something to kind of get him re-energized. I don't know. I'm just guessing there. But anyway, my number 8, Antoine Bauza.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one. All right, my number 8 is 2 folks that always work together. I believe they are married, and that would make sense then. This is Inca and Marcus Brand.
Very good choice.
Inca and Marcus Brand.
2 for 3 of Z.
Wow, okay.
They are all over the place as far as the
are.
kinds of games they make, and yet their success rate is tremendous. How do you go from a roll and write, one of the very earliest roll and write, St. Malo, way before it took off.
With Dry Erase, before you saw Dry Erase.
Yeah, like very early on, okay? To a legacy game, The Rise of Queensdale, very good legacy game, not based on something else, and it works. To the phenomenon that is Exit the Game.
Right.
To Rajas of the Ganges, a dice-driven game, which you would put next to all 3 of these and go, not from the same people.
Right, Village.
And so on and so on and so on.
Village?
Yeah.
They're just, again, they can kind of do anything.
Yeah,
they have this strange ability to just be like, I don't know, I imagine like one of them talking to the other going, what kind of game do you want to make, honey?
Right.
Let's make a Euro game. All right, boom. Let's invent escape room games at home. It's wild.
It's amazing.
Very impressive. So, yeah, that's my number 8. That team is amazing. And again, they come up with something right now, and I see their names on the cover. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I agree.
They definitely were on my short list. My number 8 is a crossover with Mike. I lied earlier. He's actually on my list, and that is Paolo Mori.
Oh, all right. You even like him more than I do.
Wow.
Slightly, yeah. Or he shuffled higher in this current thing here.
That's right.
I really like Rise of Augustus. That's one of his earlier ones, which I enjoyed. And, of course, I put Ethnos, so more people would. I put the early versions, Ethnos and Libertalia.
Right,
I'm old school.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's funny because my initial interactions with his games was Vasco da Gama, which you may have seen that video in response and all that stuff. But that's the only one of that kind of game he's made. The rest of his stuff, and I really like Blitzkrieg. I also like the follow-up Caesar. And my mind was blown that the third game in that series is not from him.
I know.
And everyone's saying it's not as good so far. It's what I've heard. I don't know. But I like him. He made that Batman game too. Remember?
Yeah,
really, that's an underrated game. Like Gotham City, I think it's called Batman Gotham City.
Something like that. Yeah.
You play the bad guys, and you can send Batman like after the other villains in town.
Right.
That game does not get enough love.
I think it's because people assume it's an IP garbage game.
Oh, I agree. Well, the components weren't fantastic and all that, but yeah. So my number 8, I have a crossover of both of them. Now I'm done.
All right, we're at number 7.
I need to get
I still have a ways to go, but you have not said the one that I wrote down yet, so I'm still in the running for getting your number 1 right. All right, my number 7 is a duo, and so this design team was not on the list that I did more recently because while they both have singular designs that are very popular, as a duo, I think they just work very well together. It's Kramer and Kiesling.
Yes, I finally got one right.
Got
Mike.
one.
Yes. So, Kramer and Kiesling have been doing it a while, right?
Yes.
Right? And the fact that they're still designing is amazing to me. And so, these are just some of my favorites of their co-designs, Tikal, Adventureland, Maharaja, Palaces of Carrara. But then you look at them as singular designers too, or even working with other teams. You've got Colosseum, you've got, there's...
It's always funny because I always thought Kiesling, I was like, does he actually do anything? Is it just Kramer and then Azul? And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Kiesling knows what
Right.
he's doing.
Yeah, right now, Michael Kiesling is much more popular
He is.
than Kramer, right?
Right.
But, yeah, you're right. It always seemed like it was Wolfgang Kramer, like classic
Yes.
designer, and some guy he's working with.
Right.
It's like, well, hold on. They're both bringing quite a bit. And right now, the Azul and all of those kinds of games that have come out of it, my goodness, incredibly popular.
Well, I like to think, and I have no basis on this, but I like to think that it maybe started out as kind of a mentor-mentee kind of a thing.
It could be.
And when you work with a brilliant, and I'm not saying
make
he's
the
not
story
brilliant on
up while you're
himself.
at it.
I am. So they met in Amsterdam in but I don't know, because he's younger than Kramer, and maybe they picked up some things and kind of has gone and he's blossomed. He's flown from the nest.
Yeah.
Also,
they're
I'm pretty
both-
sure they're both of advanced age. So, but they're great designers, and they're still doing it, baby.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Kramer's getting up there in years, too.
He is. But I'm super excited about that new version of Colosseum too, which is not by both of them.
know.
It's Kramer with a different co-designer.
Yeah.
Ulrich. No, not Ulrich.
I think it is.
It is Ulrich.
Is
yeah.
it Ulrich?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, my number 7 is a crossover with Mike and Tom.
Oh!
Paolo Mori,
Yes, baby, a three-way
He's the
crossover.
first one on all of the 3 lists.
Really? I would not have expected a three-way
Yeah.
crossover.
There we
Period.
go. The one that no one talks about. He's the one who designed Pandemic Fall of
Right,
Rome.
I still haven't played it.
It's both, Matt Leacock's name's on the box, but I'm fairly certain, I'm sorry, I apologize to Mr. Leacock if I'm wrong, I think it's just because of Pandemic.
Yeah.
And I think a different designer, designs these around the world series of Pandemic games. And Paulo Mori's Fall of Rome here is fantastic. It's a very good system. It takes some things from Pandemic and spins them on their head, changes them around. It's just a great game. And then, of course, these guys mentioned all the other ones. Very solid designs. Does a lot of moving and shaking. Does not a lot of repetition unless it's a
Right.
reprint or something. Yeah, very impressive designer. Definitely on my top 10.
Wow, a 3-way crossover already. That's amazing.
I would not have guessed that,
Me
especially with
neither.
Paolo Mori.
I didn't think any of us would have it. Yeah, I didn't think there would be
I didn't
any
write them on
three-way
either one
crossover.
of your guys.
Yeah.
All right, well. My number 7 is not going to be a crossover because he's a heavy Euro designer, and the games of his that Zee has played, he's despised. Not all of them. You like one of his games. You like Last Will, and that would be Vladimir Suchy.
Oh, okay.
I really like his stuff. Vladimir Suchy, what do we got here? We have Woodcraft, Pulsar 2849, Underwater Cities, that's his most popular game. Prodigal's Club, which was the sequel to Last Will. I don't know,
I liked Woodcraft. That's his?
yeah, Woodcraft is his.
I like
Yeah.
Woodcraft.
And then he's redoing Shipyard. Did you see that?
I did. And
Yeah.
I think Shipyard came out at the wrong time, if that makes sense. Shipyard is a rondel of rondels.
Right, it also
There's
has
one
that
big
covered.
rondel that you're moving around, and then
Okay.
you move around a bunch of small ones around it.
Okay.
And you build these ships, and you can build a long ship or a short one, and the different icons on them give you points. I don't know. It's a good game. Now, I forgot that until you just reminded me. I might not play it again and just wait for the new one.
The new one. It's going to be at Essen, I believe.
There's the new Shipyard printing.
Yeah,
Is
he's
CG
created.
doing
No, he's created his own. He
Oh,
already
right.
had. It's
Delicious
part of,
Games,
It's
huh?
part of Delicious Games. Yeah, he's got that and a new game coming out.
Yeah, that Delicious Games, I mean, he hit with a bang. He was like,
Yeah.
here's a small game, Underwater Cities. And people
Right.
were like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the subsequent ones haven't done as well. Woodcraft's probably got the most buzz
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, Praga didn't do
Praga
as well.
did, but
It was
still.
for
no
sure.
one is saying they're bad games. And
No.
I don't know. I just find them to be very, very interesting. And I still think if you haven't played Last Will, it's one of the most fun Euro games, the heavy Euro games, because all the stuff you're doing. You're like, and I just took my horse out to dinner.
It's my favorite of his designs.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's got a fun premise that comes through.
Yeah.
This idea of blowing through all your money as quickly as possible.
Brewster's Millions, yeah. So Brewster's Millions is this movie where...
Yeah, we blew that already. Let's move on.
My number 6 is from a designer that is so multi-talented, it makes me physically ill with burning and intense jealousy.
Well, it's not going to be
I know who it
the
is.
brands.
If
That
I could
leaves
be
only-
if I could be a tenth as good in even one of the things that this person is brilliant at, I would be very happy. My number 6 is Ryan Lockett.
Did I write him down for you? I'm just going to throw my mic card on the floor.
So Ryan Lockett is somebody that is, I know he has a team. His wife works with him, and he's got kind of a close-knit team. But these are really primarily one person's vision, right? Because he's not only designing the games, he's illustrating the games. He's heavily involved in the writing because some of these have a narrative element, sometimes a relatively significant narrative element. He also plays music he and his wife will play music that you can kind of download and so multi-talented to the nth degree. But I really, really like that he's kind of carved out his own niche, right? It's like you can say it's a Ryan Lockett game. You know what I mean? And it's like you kind of know what kind of a thing you might be getting. So they're not all narrative.
Yeah.
Like Islebound has no narrative at all. He's done a couple small games like Rome, which is really an abstract. But
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting that, yes, there is a Ryan Lockett kind of game. This sort of Euro game / narrative thing. But he does enough other stuff where it's not just that.
Yeah, you're not playing
even
the same
one
game every
coming
time.
out now is going to GameFound, I guess, that Creature Caravan.
Yeah.
We did a preview of it, and it's different from any of that stuff.
Right.
It's this card combo thing with dice and, traversing this desert. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
And it's very good. So I agree with you. It's just, again, it's sort of sickening that he's so good at so many things.
And maybe he's putting on the world's biggest sham. He's so humble.
he's
He's so good at that, too.
he's good at being a genuinely lovely person. So yeah, Ryan Lockett, my number 6.
I feel like if you went up to him and said, "You have problems in this game," he would pull out a pad of paper and be like, and he would take notes and think about it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, he's humble is a good word.
Don't do that, though.
Nah.
All right, my number 6 is going to be from, I don't know why I keep saying from somebody. It's from their parents, okay? Their parents put this person in the world, and I want to thank them. This is Ignacy Trevicek.
Oh,
My
see,
number 6.
I was going to write him down for you, and I was like, no, I think you've cooled on him.
I have, but there's still some designs there. Again, there was a lot of shuffling of the list, and
Yeah,
there's
right there.
some designs right there, even just those 3 that I'm like, that's enough for me, Robinson is a very interesting, very thinky game. 51st State, one of my favorite games of all time, and then Empires of the North, specifically that one, takes that 51st State concept and kind of runs away with it and does different things. I agree that I've cooled on him because he's, in many ways, a little experimental with the stuff he does. He takes big swings.
Yeah,
Like
I
Freeman
agree.
Freeze a little bit.
A little bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
He kind of takes big swings. He is not a very good, he does not trim well. He does not sort of pull back very well. And the couple of times he's tried, those games have not been very successful at all.
Yeah.
Okay? I would love for him to be able to find that balance between thematic, board games that tell stories is kind of his company's motif, right? Or saying.
Tagline or whatever, yeah.
I would love for the games to continue being able to tell stories while being a little more reserved, a little cleaner, a little pulled back, a little easier to get into. But I'll take what I can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 51st State alone probably puts him on this list. The other designs are also very strong.
And he's almost, just outside of his design pedigree, I mean, he's a huge part of board games in Poland. Like, you know, he distributes. I mean, it's a whole thing he's got going on. So,
yeah. So there you go. That's my number 6, Ignacy Trevicek.
All right, my number 6, who I keep debating if I want him higher, has been designing games for decades, but only in the last decade has his name been on the box because Hasbro doesn't put his name on boxes, and that would be Rob Daviau. And I mean, I liked his Hasbro stuff when he did it, and I mean, he was part of the Heroescape team and everything. But his work in restoration games,
been amazing. Yeah.
Oh my word! Like if I know he's redoing a game, and also his work in legacy games.
Yes.
Like you see, he was involved with Pandemic Legacy. I mean, Matt Leacock did Pandemic.
Sure.
But he's involved in the Ticket to Ride Legacy, which we can't talk about that much yet. But it's obvious that he's in it, and he is my number 6 designer. Downforce and Thunder Road, and even at what's the Indulgence, the trick taking. He's really doing it. These games are just so much fun. And I talk about his games. Like, oh, I played that Thunder Road Vendetta, this happened, and this car blew up, and Return to Dark Tower, you went over here and did that quest, and then I killed the dragon, and I just like this stuff.
And you don't even have his best game up there.
You talking about Unmatched?
No. It's a co-design. Cthulhu, Death May Die.
Yeah, he makes some missteps, but he has good games.
Oh!
Oh!
Cthulhu's going to come right through that door.
Cthulhu can't fit through that door.
His tentacle can.
Yeah, that's true.
What are we talking about?
He's gonna get him first.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too. The problem is there ain't no other door to run out.
I know, that's fair. Cthulhu's going to come through this floor. I think Rob Daviau has a really uncanny almost ability to keep one foot in, I don't want to, it sounds dirty when I say like mass market gaming, but like understanding what people want that is fun first, screw the rest of this garbage we talk about. He has an uncanny ability to keep one foot in that camp, one foot in the gamers are serious about games camp.
Right.
He straddles both perfectly. He'll take old, fun games for their time, bring them up to speed so that they are respect the gamers' games and retain that old fun that we didn't worry about, like, what are the mechanisms in this game? You know what I mean? He managed to cross those two things very well. And I don't know if it's having worked for Hasbro many years and pivoting to making these kinds of games. I don't know if it's just brilliance. I don't know what it is. But that's almost singular in this industry, that he manages to do both of those.
True.
He's also not on my list, but
Did I write him on yours? I did write him on yours.
He's top 15.
Yeah, he's
because I know
he's
you
up
really
there.
love Unmatched. You know
I do. It's it's very, very good. So
It
top
is.
15 easy.
All right, halfway.
My number 5 is a designer that, at least in North America, is maybe not as well known as any other designer on my list or on either of your lists, I would guess as well. Although Zee might surprise me, and this may end up on his list too. My number 5 is Sashi. So Sashi is a designer that has a publishing house called Sashi and Sashi, but I think that's just a name, right? Like he's basically Sashi and Sashi. There is a artist that he works with quite often, but I really, really enjoy the vast majority of Sashi's games. He's done some co-designs. Actually, 2 of them are there with Daryl Chow, who is I believe, Singaporean designer. Remember Our Trip and Come Sail Away are both co-designs. Let's Make a Bus Route is one of the more interesting flip and write games because you have a shared board, and I hadn't seen that before that game.
I agree.
In front of the elevators is a little card game. He's got some really interesting trick-taking games. He's got hand management games. He's got set collection games. But they're all just solid designs, elegant in most cases.
Right.
And so I keep waiting for a dud to come out, and it ain't happening. I mean,
Yeah.
I have really, really been impressed with the consistency of Sashi's design. So that's my number 5, Sashi.
Not on my list. Could be on my list easily. Again, that elegance definitely comes through. The fact that all the games have the same artist doesn't hurt, right? That's always going to trick the brain into thinking these are part of a collection. But I agree. There's just something very clean and meticulous and specific about Sashi and Sashi games. They're almost like, they're small in not in concept, but sort of in precision.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like a watchmaker. There's
Yeah, that's a good way to
that
put
is
it.
like, and I've made this, and it's lovely, and it's small, but it is exactly what it needs to be. And I appreciate that. I really like their designs. All right. My number 5 is where we are, yes. Is a crossover, once again, with Mike.
Oh.
And this is Antoine Boza,
Okay.
who has done, like you said, quite a few games, and some of them have most certainly risen to the top. Here's some of my favorites. Last Bastion / Ghost Stories, probably being my favorite one.
Yeah.
One of those, kind of like a co-op that's been around for a while now. You know what I
think
mean?
it's an evergreen, honestly.
It was like on the heels, or not too long after Pandemic, Ghost Stories came out.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is not Pandemic.
No.
This is
Brutally hard.
a different thing. This is just a different idea. And that got reworked into Last Bastion there. It's just a few cool concepts that came to fruition. I mean, I still remember when Seven Wonders came out, kind of like when Dominion came out, that talk of like, there's this new game on the scene where you're drafting cards. You can play with like 7 people. But the game's like 30 minutes.
I know.
It does a lot with 30 minutes. Again, some games just kind of like start spreading through these whispers, and you're like, it just builds, and you're like, I got to play this. That sounds amazing. It sounds incredible. Seven Wonders was one of those games, and not every designer gets one of those.
No.
That spreads like that becomes almost viral in its, propaganda-like immersion in gamers' heads.
The guy from Repos came. He was like, you want to try this out? I'm like, no, I'll play it when it's published. He's like, it's going to win the spiel. I was like, okay, big talk. But it did.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's crazy, man. So there you go. My number 5, Antoine Boza.
My number 5 was, at points for sure, my number 1. His recent games have not excited me as much, but he still has made such an amazing thing. And
I can guess.
Go ahead.
Tom Lehman.
No, that's not on my list.
Okay. Nor mine.
Uwe Rosenberg.
Okay.
What? I was expecting number 1 here.
Well, here's the thing. I really like his stuff. Obviously, Le Havre, Feast for Odin, and Caverna are 3 of my favorite games, period.
Right.
They're fantastic. And I like his old stuff, Bonanza, and I like his tile laying stuff, New York Zoo, and all that. But his recent stuff has just not... Oh, and then Mamma Mia, the one I put on there, because if you haven't played Mamma Mia, you got to. It's a great little game that nothing else is like. That was young Uwe Rosenberger before the alien took him over.
Right.
And made the new stuff. It really was weird. One day
I
he was
still
like...
hold to this day, though, that Uwe Rosenberg was starved as a child. Like, easily 85% of his games are about feeding people.
Fixated on feeding people, yes.
You know what I mean? Like all 4 of those have food on the cover.
That is true.
What are you eating in the New York Zoo picture?
Flamingo.
One of those is delicious.
Baked flamingo. Flamingo scampi. Broiled flamingo. Flamingo stew.
Flamingo scampi. I would order that. All right. Anyhow, I think he's great. Like I said, his last couple games have been, for the last few years, he hasn't made a big one that I've been like really jived about, but I still like him though.
Yeah.
Like the Bat game from last year, whatever it was called.
A Tiwa.
Atiwa. thought was interesting. He makes his smaller games I'm still interested in. He makes 2-player versions of his games that are different and fun, like Caverna Cave versus Cave and the All Creatures Great and Small.
Yeah. He could be up here for Hengist alone, Tom. They can't all be zingers, folks.
That's what kept him at a 5.
Uwe Rosenberg, my number 5.
My number 4 is a crossover with Tom Vasel.
Aw, you made me sad.
I'm sorry. I'm sure we'll meet again, sir.
Let me look at my list.
I'm positive we have a crossover.
Oh, I think I can guess it.
Who is it?
Stegmeyer.
Jamie Stegmeyer is my number 4.
I wrote that one down.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like his designs. Even some of his less, known. Like I even like so much I can't even think of it. Right? Euphoria.
I see you put the same 4 I did.
I did. Well, because to me these are my 4 favorite of his games.
They really are.
Scythe for a long time was my number 1
have
game.
many more games, to be fair. He's got like 4 more games, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he's done some that people.
Did he do that Roll and Write one?
He did Rolling Realms. Yeah. Actually, that started as a print and play thing during the pandemic.
It's still a game, though.
Oh no, 100% it is, and yeah. So, Scythe alone is something that's going to give him consideration because, like I said, it's been my number 1. It had been my number 1 for many, many years. But I really have liked Tapestry, and it's also one of the few games where both expansions, I think, do make the game better. And without having to add too much. Viticulture, I think, is a modern classic. I get a lot of grief for that phrase, but it is a modern classic. And
I think Scythe is a modern classic.
I agree too, and I do agree with that. And I think that Expedition is a.
Don't you say modern classic?
No, I'm not. But it's a game that,
It's a modern game.
I want to keep playing. Right?
Okay.
It's I've only played it a few times.
I'm
it's
curious
new.
where it will end up. Even for me over the years, because Scythe has grown. Expeditions, I don't know where it will be.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet, but I've enjoyed it, the amount of times I've played it so far. My number 4, Jamie Stegmeyer.
That's very good. Jamie Stegmeyer, this will not be a 3-way crossover. He's not on my list.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I do like his stuff, though. Every one of those games you guys are putting up there, I thought Tapestry was all right. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The other 3, that's enough.
Yeah.
Those are 3 very good, very different games.
Yes.
So again, top 15 probably. This is a hard list to put together to stick to 10.
It is. It really is.
It's hard to, and like I said, this is the most fluctuating of all my lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does change quite a bit. All right, my number 4, someone just mentioned in the comments, and that is Eric M. Lang.
Yeah.
My number 4.
I am really hitting with you. I don't know Mike, but I know you.
Okay, so Eric
Oh, no, I dropped my card.
Lang's got
no.
quite a few different games, actually, and here are some of my favorites.
God, it's hard to argue with
others
these.
and Cthulhu Death May Die definitely share some DNA. One of
Yes.
them is a cooperative game, and the other one is an all versus one game. Both very interesting, but he's also got Blood Rage and Ankh, Gods of Egypt. And then lighter things, like, he's a co-designer on Marvel United, which is a fantastic game, one that continues to grow on me. Just a sharp designer. Again, someone who does a lot, I'm sure, of sharpening his skills, of sort of figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I want to try this. It's kind of like someone who cooks versus, like, a chef. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's sort of what this feels like to me. Someone who cooks up a game and comes out with something, and it's fun. Yeah, I know. You were sort of inspired by something or other. The flavors of this one, spice from this part of the world inspired you. Great. That's wonderful. And he's a chef who takes this other, all of these things and makes something inspired. I think Eric Lang is a tremendously accomplished designer, both in the stuff that he's made that's done very well, but also just in the stuff that he tries, that puts together in strange combinations. So, my number 4, Eric Lang, has made all sorts of games. I definitely don't like them all, but he's made enough at this point that he gets on the list.
I will say this about Eric Lang, because he'd be definitely near my top 10. and I don't hear this mentioned very often, but for even his weightier games, like the trilogy, the rule sets are remarkably streamlined, right? There's not a lot of edge cases, and once you know the game, you don't have to keep going back to the rule book on those games. So that's an
That's what I
impressive
like
feat.
about the others. The others manages to do that pretty well.
All right, my number 4 is a crossover with Mike.
Man, we've had a number of crossovers,
We have.
sir.
This is the Mr. Ryan Lockett.
The Mr. Ryan Lockett?
Although I'm not quite sure that I should add Marjorie to the list at this point.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I always say he's part of a team, right? 'Cause-
I want to mention her too.
Yes.
Sleeping Gods. I stuck on Empires of the Void too.
Yep.
Islebound, Near and Far, and I am like almost shakingly excited about the sequel to Sleeping Gods.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm more excited after playing Primeval Peril because he uses the new combat system in that game that he's going to be having in the.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's a better combat?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's great.
Is it faster?
It's faster and it's card driven. Yeah, it's good. There's dice too, but no, it's good.
No one said dice were bad,
Yep.
but
Yeah, it's similar enough.
What?
no, I like dice. And his covers, I always love his
Oh, my
covers.
gosh,
Every time I
yeah.
look at his covers, I think, I want to play that game. Mm-hmm. Straight up.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. His
really are.
illustrations are, and because many of them share a world, that artwork really ties it all together.
really
that
does.
Arzium is kind of his made-up universe.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to number 3.
My number 3 is a crossover, although not yet.
I even know.
Why you gotta out me like that?
Crossovers with.
Why you gotta out me like that, Mike?
My number 3 is.
I didn't realize he was this high on your
Oh
list.
my
too.
gosh, yeah, he's so remarkably consistent. My number 3 is Bruno Catala. And also somebody who has a huge breadth across his gaming library. I mean, he's done small little card games like Sea Salt and Paper. He has kind of the big productions like Five Tribes and Abyss, which is a lot of his games are oftentimes they kind of belie what you're playing by looking at them. You know what I mean? So the experience might be different than what you expect. And I think that's why some people bounced off of Abyss when it first came out. They were expecting something different. But what it is fantastic. And he's not the only designer on Jamaica, but he was one of the designers on Jamaica. And
He collaborates a
ton.
He does.
And
Some things are designs that he's done on his own, like Five Tribes is just Catala. So.
Yes, absolutely, and so is Abyss. But he also has, in the recent years, kind of become known as the guru of two-player games based off of another game. So basically, Seven Wonders Duel was so successful that they came to him and said, "Hey, can you make a two-player version of Splendor?" At first he was like, "No, I really can't,"
Right.
But then he was designing another game, that Sobek two-player,
Right.
and he's turned that into a huge
Okay,
hit.
what do I want to see him turn into 2-player?
That's a good question. Yeah, what would be good?
Well, there's that guy who makes solo modes for stuff. What's his name that you really like,
Tootsie?
Mike?
Turtsy, yeah.
Yeah. He kind of,
right.
Catala's sort of like the two-player version of
The Wizard, yeah. So
Two-player
Abyss.
versions.
Let's do an Abyss 2-player.
he did that little card game, the conspiracy game,
It's
but that's not a
spin-off.
two-player.
It's not really a two-player game, yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
A two-player version of something. I don't know.
Yeah, Kanagawa maybe?
Takinoko, someone said that.
Takanoko would be, yeah, Takanoko.
Kanagawa,
Gardner versus Panda.
Which is Kanagawa, the painting
The
one?
painting one, yeah. That might be
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, Takanoko is actually...
Scrabble.
Monopoly Scrabble Duel would be
He
good.
could make it better. He could make it better, I feel.
Yes. Gosh, it's so funny. There's a lot of people putting people they think will be on my list, and they were all people that were in consideration, but not. You'll see if they're there or not.
We'll talk about this at the end.
That's
Here
right.
we go.
Number 3, Cathala. I probably shouldn't have said as much.
It's fine. Number 3 is not on my list, so you're okay. Number 3 is going to be Matt Leacock. No one's mentioned him yet, right?
No.
No, but he's on my list for you.
Yeah, makes sense. He's the designer of Pandemic. One of my favorite games of all time, but he's also got some other interesting stuff.
Thunderbirds.
I know Mike really likes
I love
Thunderbirds,
it.
and we are the two that apparently talk about
That's
it.
correct.
I was going to stick a copy in the library for you guys, and I can't find it.
Oh, wow.
It's like doesn't exist.
yeah.
It really did not. Yeah, I think it's kind of just gone.
Yeah.
It's a cool game, though. Mm-hmm. And then Forbidden Desert, and in fact, the entire Forbidden series of games.
We just got Forbidden Jungle before this top 10 list
literally
started.
just walked
today.
in here. Yeah, It's been a very popular series, generally speaking. Very lovely. He's the guy who's sort of, and credit has to be given for this. In many ways, the guy who's made that question that gets asked at the beginning of so many game sessions relevant.
Yes.
Is it a co-op game
Yeah.
or a competitive?
That's
Like,
almost solely because of him. He's not
that's
the
almost
first.
solely because of him.
Yeah.
That was not a question you needed to ask
Right.
pre-2008's pandemic.
That's true.
You just didn't ask.
Right.
Every game's competitive, with a couple very small exceptions, But just bringing that idea of working together to the table of so many games have done this now. I mean, it's a legitimate question you have to ask.
It
now.
is. Yeah, you're right.
That right there, it's an incredible influence. And his games manage to, once again, I have a thing I like. Games that are streamlined. Games that make me engage and think and puzzle something out. But it's not the rules I'm fighting.
Right.
It's the game I'm fighting, or it's the people across the table I'm fighting. It's not the rule book. He manages to do that very, very well. So my number 3, Matt Leacock.
All right, my number 3 is a tie with Ryan Lockett for being the nicest designer in existence. And that would be Mr. Emerson Matsuuchi.
Oh, yeah.
Really love his stuff. I mean, he's sitting high on the foundations of Rome.
Yes.
But it's not just that. I mean, the Century games, Reef, Spectre Ops, and we just played the newest. What's this game coming out?
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid. And he even made a little deduction style game, Crossfire, which I really like. I like he's so clean. I would say his designs are even cleaner than, well, maybe not cleaner, but they're very similar to Phil Walker Harding. They're very similar in how just straightforward they
That's
are,
true.
but they're still fun to play.
Yeah.
You just sit there and be like, ooh, he's quick, snappy turns, but with tough decisions. I like it. Just really, really cool stuff. And he also knows how to work with a company to get them to make them look nice, too.
Yeah. That's
That's
true.
for sure.
No kidding.
So he started off with his own little company, Trick or Treat, and then he did the robot game. And
Right.
Yeah, that arena. What is it? Something
Volt.
arena?
Volt.
Yes.
Volt. Right.
And so anyway, great. My number 3, Emerson Matsuuchi.
Very nice.
All right, so Z said he was interested in what my number 2 would be.
Well, see, there's 2. Somebody just mentioned a name, and I'm like, oh, wow. Because I know it's got to be...
You know number 1, right?
I do know number 1,
Okay.
yes.
Number 2 is so obvious then.
Well, but somebody just said Cole Worley. If it's not Cole Worley, then yes, I know who it is, but then you're missing a number here. You got to do a top 11.
I know. Cole Worley would be right there. He's in the, in that mix. So is... Well, I'm going to say him because everyone knows what number 1 is anyway.
Who it is.
Johnny Pack and Stan Kordonsky. And
Yes, where's Johnny Pack, Mike?
He's right there. He's right there. But my number 2,
it's a duo again?
It is.
Calling it a duo?
It's a duo because I used to say Shem Phillips. And now I'm saying Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald because so many of the games from Garfield Games, Shem's publishing house, are now co-designs with Sam. Now, there are plenty of games that Shem has done on his own. Raiders was his own design. He's done some smaller games on his own too, but these 4 games right here are just, to me, I mean, these games are all fantastic. They're just fantastic. And I love a lot of things about his games. I feel like, generally speaking, he has some of the best iconography in the business. And once you've played a couple of his games, you have a head start on any of his other games because he has a very similar kind of graphic design. He was, I think, the first game I played with the Michos artwork was, a Garfield game, Raiders.
Yeah.
And so this great marriage between an art style that seems to suit all of his games, a relatively streamlined rule set, even for his crunchier games like Paladins. But now it's Shem and Sam that are kind of just almost a machine.
It's true. That's a good way to put it. They are very machine-like. My goodness.
They've got the next few years planned out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they put out quality games almost basically on a yearly basis. And I don't know if you should put this into the mix. It has nothing to do with their designing, but they consistently fulfill their projects on time, usually early.
Yes, that has nothing to do with design.
I don't care. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I appreciate it. There you go. But mostly they're designs. I think they're just fantastic designers. Shem Phillips and Sam McDonald are my number 2 designers.
All right, my number 2 is a crossover. I think you both have said it at this point. Ryan Locken.
Oh, we have 2 3-way crossovers.
Wow.
2 indeed.
Man.
You guys have said it all already, and we managed to find 3 different pictures, I think, of Ryan
true.
Locken online. Here's 3 that I really like, that I enjoy quite a bit. There are many others. I really am excited for that upcoming game. Well, both of them.
Yeah.
Sleeping Gods, Distant Skies.
Yep.
And then that Creature Caravan game. But again, the breadth of games here, from little 8-Minute Empire all the way to what I think is probably his magnum opus here is Sleeping Gods.
Yeah.
And I guess the spin-off now. Incredible stuff. Really captivating stuff. From wall to wall. Artwork to words written for the game to mechanisms to the whole shebang. Very impressive. Number 2.
All right, my number 2 has sold more than any other designer on this list.
I know it.
Actually, than every other designer on this list combined.
I know it.
And that would be Mr. Richard Garfield.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's best known, well, at least by some people, he's best known for Magic the Gathering. But I like his stuff. And the Mind Bug brought him back to the forefront for me recently. And I was like, and he doesn't do a ton of games. He has I forget the name of that game that they're redesigning. It was like Spies just a few years ago.
Oh, Shadowhunter.
Yeah, they're redoing that. But Robo Rally, I still enjoy that one. That also just got reprinted. And Bunny Kingdom, very underappreciated game. But King of Tokyo.
Yeah.
Well, I put 4
Tokyo,
games up there, and I
man,
wanted to show like a different variety and stuff. I just think he's an amazing designer. Magic, he broke such new ground with that. Robo Rally, he broke ground with that. You know, I just think his stuff's fantastic. He doesn't design a ton of new games. But if you say Richard Garfield's coming out with a game, I'm in straight out.
Yeah. And they know that because...
To the point where if he says a game is good that he hasn't designed...
Right. Well,
That's enough.
there's that. And also, like, in these later kickstarting things that he's been a part of, he'll be like, a Richard Garfield game, and the title will be in a 2-point font. It doesn't matter what the game is.
Doesn't matter.
He did it, you know?
Oh, that's cool, man. The fact that he
and
still is
Netrunner.
designing games.
There's
you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's neat. With Magic the Gathering, I doubt he needs to design anything ever again.
Yeah, exactly.
But he still comes out with stuff. He
Right.
must still be very passionate about it. So.
And this is a perfect example of, I don't particularly love his games. They don't really suit my style. I love King of Tokyo. But if you were going to put a Mount Rushmore, I would definitely not argue against Richard Garfield to be up there.
Kind of there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there's certain people who are objective. We'll get to another one in just a minute. But yeah, I think he's on there.
Yeah.
So who else is on this Mount Rushmore?
Well, I
Before
was
we
going to
jump
say,
into it, actually, Mike, because I know what your number 1 is.
Yeah.
Everybody does. People know what my number 1 is. Do you know what Tom's number 1 is?
well, I wrote it down.
You did?
And
You
it's still
think-
it's still in.
It's still
in play?
alive.
Okay, because I thought it was going to be Rosenberg.
No, I've got.
You got
here,
it?
I'm going to show you. I'm not going to show Tom.
All right, I'll
Don't
close
show
my
Tom,
eyes.
okay?
It's written in blue pen off to there.
Really?
I think it's that.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Tom? You were a teacher. You were a teacher as well.
Yes.
Who is front and center on Mount Rushmore? Which president is front and center on Mount Rushmore?
Hang on, I'm looking at it in my head because I know Washington's like really prominent, but is it Abraham
I've
Lincoln?
only ever seen Mount Rushmore from the back, so I'm not sure.
I'm asking the two of you because I have no idea.
I was like, this is a
don't
trick
know.
question.
The person front and center is Dr. Reiner Knizia. If they were to actually carve him into Mount Rushmore, I would not argue
That would
against
be
it.
sacrilege.
Wait, is that a picture? Is that a picture of young Knizia?
Have you not
talking-
seen
Yeah,
that picture with
that's
the mustache and the chapeau? Yeah, that's a great picture. He also could have put a picture of him wearing a llama suit. So look, clearly, Reiner Knizia is somebody that I
love how you got the Viking Seesaw.
I got Viking Seesaw in there.
That is pretty good. It's like two incredible classics.
Yep.
Two modern good games, Viking Seesaw squeezed in there.
Yeah, you better believe it, baby.
All right.
You know he's going to write you a letter someday like, thank you, Mike, for your support of Viking Seesaw.
He has no idea I exist. But I think not only is he an important designer up there with like Sid Saxon, I think he's the most important designer out there. But when you are as prolific as he is and somebody that iterates on his own designs, of course there's some garbage out there, right? He's put out some games that are just not very good. But his good games, to me, they're just spectacular because they're almost always a very light rule set. Very light rule set with agonizing decisions, incredible player interactivity. A lot of his games, and I mentioned this before, you kind of argue with me, but I think many of his greatest games have less to do with the game mechanisms and more to do with how the people are having to interact with the other people with these mechanisms as just a machine.
Which is interesting. That's not
I
what
still
you
disagree
think of.
on that.
Yeah.
I still think it's about the mechanisms. But
Well, hey, people think it's all mechanisms for it, and they generally are. His games tend to be very mathematical, but no, I just think he's a
very
genius.
multi-layered.
He
That's
really
the thing.
is.
Because I agree with both of you. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, Mike, you're right. There is something about a lot of his games that are about the people at the table.
Yes.
I don't know how he does it. It doesn't seem like he would, but he does.
He does.
But I agree with you, too. They're all, of course, impeccably mathematical.
Right, yeah.
And maybe that just comes from having designed 400 games.
Right.
That you can kind of like fit every possible descriptor because you've done them all. Mm-hmm. You know? Maybe that's what it is. But there is something that is not just by the numbers
No.
and workmanlike about
Right.
Knizia's designs. Even if you don't like them, there is something about them that is, most of them, that is impressive. It's
Yeah.
just like, wow.
And I also think a lot of his games are more subtle than people realize, that you
Sure.
don't necessarily get it your first play or two. The game that he's most well known for is Tigris and Euphrates, and that's
not anymore.
yeah, that's true.
Not anymore, but
That's true.
yeah, at a time.
And that's not even my favorite of his games because it breaks my brain. You know what I mean? It's a game that I've struggled to wrap my head around. And I also would like to put it on record that somehow somebody was saying here that I'd never played Tigris and Euphrates, and that is a disgusting lie. I've played it a number of times. I've never played it well.
I don't know who's talking about that.
I don't remember.
Was it
but
me?
I think it was Chris.
Oh, Chris, we're gonna have a talk.
By the
Anyway.
way, folks, Mike has never played Tigers and Euphrates.
I have 100% played Tigris
So
and Euphrates.
would you believe he made my short list?
Well, he
because-
was definitely on my short list.
Yeah.
Because, and I cut him off because I think he actually has a voluminous amount of terrible games, but he has so many good ones.
Yeah.
It's a hard call. So remember I said my list is if I heard he make a new game, how excited am I?
Yeah.
It's like with Knizia, it's kind of 50-50.
Gotcha.
It depends on the game.
Okay.
Well, the problem is, if he makes a new game, you immediately are like, what's that a reprint
Right.
of?
What game was that?
So in the last couple of years, he's been
He has.
pumping out new content.
He's Viking Seesaw. That's brand new.
It is. Also, just want to say he had a Lord of the Rings cooperative game
He did.
before Matt Leacock was born.
I realized that. Not quite, but you're right that he did have a cooperative game for adults.
Yes.
Which was largely unheard of. A
That's
very
true.
good game. It holds
Yeah.
up. I still have it.
Yeah. All right. So
all
no,
right.
no surprise here, but
What is your number?
Dr. Knizia.
My number one
Yes.
Bruno
Is-
Fatuti.
Bruno Catala.
Yes.
Faduti is a very good designer as well.
That's great.
I gave him this picture.
Did you?
I did give him this picture. He added the text.
Okay. That's great.
That's very good. I love it. I love it.
Also, you're making me look bad here, Chris. If that's all Zee's buddy.
Oh, I feel bad for sure. It's too realistic. Yeah, Bruno Catala is a fantastic designer. If using your barometer there, which is not something I necessarily thought about consciously, but yeah, if there's a game coming out right now and it's like I see a cover and it says Catala, I'm like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
When, where, what's it like? I'm digging in. I really, really like the kinds of games he makes, the ideas. The funny thing is, there's something slightly Knizia-esque
I would
about
agree.
the mathematics behind his games.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually a much more abstract designer, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Who then, after making a basically fully abstract game, I don't know how he actually works, but many of his games are very sort of geometric, goes back in and adds these cards that do fun stuff, or adds like that flavor, that fun, that like spark of wild things that are then reined in by how robust the geometry or the math are.
Yeah.
And I really like that. That's my happy spot. That in between. Not too dry, not too kooky. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his games are
That in
rarely
between.
chaotic.
They're not chaotic.
Right.
There's like, if you go too far the one way, you have too much chaos.
Then you got a different Bruno.
You got a different Bruno. You got Faduti. You got some other designers
Yeah.
that make really bombastic
Ooh, I
stuff.
want to make a Bruno scale.
There should be we need more Brunos. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
Is there a Bruno who makes abstract games? Because then I could do it.
No.
No.
Chris Berm.
Yeah, I was
Chris
thinking of his.
Berno.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really, really like his stuff. So there you go. That's my number one designer. Has been for a while. Still is Catala.
All right, what's my number one?
Yeah,
You
what
wrote
are you
it down.
thinking? I don't know, Mike. That's a wild.
I thought it was a wild horse, and now I'm feeling more confident.
Well, what'd you write?
Okay.
My number one, or your number one, John D. Clare.
That is correct. Good job, Mike.
Oh wow! Wow!
He's gone ape over his recent,
Yeah,
Ready, Set, Bet.
It's his
and-
recent stuff, right? I mean, because Ready, Set, Bet and Space Base are just like phenomenal games to me. But I just played that Last Kingdom board game, and it's crazy good. I like how good that game. And Mystic Vale. Now, here's the thing. I don't love everything he's done, but it doesn't matter. You put John D. Clare's right now, and that is my number one.
Yeah.
It was easy for me.
Okay.
That Last Kingdom definitely brought it up. I was pretty happy with that. And I like he has a clever idea, and then I don't know if he's working with great developers or playtesting. He often he'll make two games. He'll make the one that has
Right.
all these ideas and everything in the game, and then the one that's distilled down to that one thing. Space Base is one thing. Mystic
Yep.
Vale is one thing. Ready, Set, Bet, one thing.
And it's funny, Mystic Vale was part of that thing that became Edge of Darkness, and Mystic Vale is much more popular,
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I also like the version he did with I always forget the name of it, the ladder climbing game.
Yeah. I can't remember what that's called either.
Something Heroes.
Pack of Heroes, maybe? I don't remember. what it's called.
No.
remember,
That's
no.
Pack of Heroes is Phil Walker Harding game. Custom Heroes. Something like that.
Someone in the chat will tell us.
So anyway, that's my number one. Now, again, for people who are just tuning in, these are our favorite designers.
Yes.
Okay, so I saw people shouting about Feld, and actually, Z, I wrote Feld down for you.
Yeah, I like Feld a lot, but again, if I saw Feld on a cover right now,
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that 50-50 camp.
Got it.
Yeah.
He also gets reprinted a decent amount lately. I don't
Custom
know.
Heroes. Thank
Custom
you.
Heroes, thank you.
Called it.
Oh, also for you, I wrote down Tom Lemon. Because I know you like his stuff, his card games and all.
I do. Tom Lehman is very sharp. I tend to like his stuff. He is not super prolific.
Yeah, he's not.
He's got a few things. He often works with other folks making expansions to their games. But Res Arcana and Race for the Galaxy and those games, I think, are fantastic.
Well, I got 6 out of yours. The other one I wrote for you was Mablanc.
Ludovic Leblanc, yeah, very good, yeah.
Yeah, he usually works with other designers. But
There's that group. I mean, there's a group of French designers that do a lot of interconnectivity, you know, and designs with each other. You can mention a lot of those people.
Theo
Riviere,
Goopy, Johannes Goopy.
That's a more modern one.
Yeah.
There's a few names now coming out of that group.
Right.
That, you know, it's time to start keeping an eye on. And I
You're
think
not
John's
kidding.
Goopy's one of them.
Yep.
There's a couple of others that are just not in here yet.
Right,
They're
right.
folks to watch.
All right, here's what I wrote for you. What about Johnny Pack?
I told you he's right
What are
there.
you doing?
I mean, yeah, because not just for his design work, but his development work.
Okay.
Like I think Endless Winter, he was very involved with. So yeah, no, he was right there.
What about the Carlsons?
From Chip Theory.
So you didn't even consider them. That's interesting.
Yeah, because they make lifestyle games, and it's so hard for me to play lifestyle games.
Which ones?
It's the same thing with Cole Worley. The Chip Theory designers.
Guys? Yeah, okay.
Cole Worley, I think, is brilliant and also takes huge risks. But yeah, he'd have been right there.
And then I wrote down, I wrote Hisashi Hayashi.
I like Hisashi Hayashi. Someone just put it up there, actually.
I should have put Sashi. I
Yeah.
put the wrong one.
Yeah.
I had to, wait, I can just cross off some of these letters. Ivan Lashin. Why did I put him down?
Yeah, Luke Laurie.
Yeah, Luke Laurie. If I thought of him, I would have written him for you.
One for me that somebody mentioned. I'm like, yeah, that's the top 20 is Sebastian Dujardin, who's done Deus.
Yeah.
Did Black Angel. That's like, you know, again, very much my speed kind of games.
Yeah.
It's a hard list to make.
This really was.
I mean, there's great designers being named in the chat. You got Vlada Chvátil, Kevin Wilson. I saw Richard Lanius there. I mean, there's just so many.
There really is.
fantastic
And again,
designers.
these could easily
Steve Finn.
switch.
Yes.
These could switch around at any given point. I was like, how do I do this? Do I start my top 100?
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that's the best way to look at this.
Yeah.
I want my gut feeling, and then I was not happy with it.
Oh, you put Lashin because of smartphone.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, because I know you liked a lot of the. He did Furnace too.
I know. Yeah, if he keeps putting out bangers like that, he'll probably be on my list for too long.
I think it's interesting, again, that we right now are in a phase in board gaming where you recognize these names, if you want to dig into it, and you recognize the kinds of things they do. It's like getting to know a writer, getting to know a film director.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that feels like a Spielberg movie. That seems like a whatever movie.
Yeah.
That's awesome to be like, this is kind of like a Cole Worley game.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%.
That we're in that era right now where you can pinpoint that games feel like specific designers is so interesting to me. It's fascinating.
It is.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
I don't think you could have done this in the 90s.
No.
I agree. I
It was like,
there
we
were
got
enough-
Knizia, we got Kramer and Kiesling, and
not enough of a sample pool, right? I mean, that's the
right.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone mentioned Elizabeth Hargrave earlier. I think one more game and she's on my list.
Yeah,
right?
because I think her upcoming game is my favorite so far. Fox Experiment may be my
really
favorite
like
of her
the Fox
games.
Experiment.
Yeah.
Where is
Elizabeth
my Fox
Hargrave
Experiment
is
game?
like, I mean,
And she's got a mushroom game coming out that looks great too. So
just incredibly, like, absolutely one of like the if board gaming did like a whole like Rising Stars type thing, top of the list.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Ooh, I didn't think about the Adam. Adam
Kopinski from Awakened Realms.
Oh, that's true.
Nemesis
true.
and Lords of
Frostpunk,
Hellas.
I think.
Yeah, I think he's part of Frostpunk. That's correct.
Yeah.
Great
Very
Wall.
impressive.
I know you love the Great Wall, so yeah. I think he was part of that.
Alrighty. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you in advance for the comments who are going to say we missed the mark and should have put your favorite designers on our favorite designer list.
David Thompson. Yeah. There's some good ones out there, man.
Okay, so I looked up David Thompson because I considered him, but he didn't have enough games. There's a few of his I haven't played.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I need to get around, like his newest one that was out at Gen Con. I haven't played
the
that
General
yet.
Orders. I wanted to play that
I don't think
too.
we got that from Osprey
I
yet.
don't think so.
Okay.
So, alrighty, well, folks, that is it for live stuff for this week, right? Right?
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, so we still got videos going up today, tomorrow, and Saturday and Sunday. And then on Monday, where Dice Tower Retreat starts, and it's going to be all about Dice Tower TV.
That's right.
We got 7 straight days worth of videos that are being queued up. And will be played during that time, so you can come and watch that stuff live, and then we'll be back with more reviews and things. So, excitement. Lots of great games. There's too many good games. We're all like constantly in the studio going, have you played this? And we're like, I really want to, but I haven't.
Yeah.
Have you played this? Oh, I haven't. It's just so many good games.
It's a lot of good stuff right now.
It really is.
I said embarrassment of riches. I meant it.
It's true.
All righty. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
I'm Zee Garcia.
We'll see y'all soon.